Hey y'all, it's Kayla, and I'm trying to make another video, and I want to keep it up. I do want to address, so I made a video yesterday on, I guess what's considered a controversial topic, and I got some weirdos in my comments. Oh yeah, so I disabled them, just for now, because some of the content that I'm posting is very sensitive, and I'm trying to figure out how I want to approach the interaction. On one hand, I do want to allow the conversation to be had, but then on the other hand, it's like if y'all are gonna say crazy things about me to me and my family, I'm not sure how I want to handle that. We'll see. So today's topic is super personal, so the comments will more than likely be off just for now. It is the story or the birth story of my son and how I went from having the home birth I had dreamed and planned and paid for and prayed for to having a hospital birth that I still found satisfaction and enjoyment in. All right, getting right into it. So, my original due date was December 25th, 2020. Excuse me, 2020. So 2020 is Christmas Day. 2020 was, as you all may know, an interesting year for several reasons. But I was really excited to end it on that note of having our son. It comes and it passes. And like most first pregnancies, from what I understand, you don't usually have a baby on your due date. Sometimes it's before, sometimes it's afterwards, sometimes it's way afterwards, which was the case for us. So my midwife was not worried. I wasn't worried. That's kind of how it went. Earlier in my pregnancy, my son was breech, which means that he was not head down, and this concerned me, and I started using the spinning babies techniques, and just the fact that it was also earlier in time, and he grew and he turned, and so then he was not breech, and he was in a head down position based off of ultrasounds and stomach sizing and different techniques used by midwives. So then we ended up getting to, what date was it, my 40th week? I got to 40 weeks pregnant, which a lot of times does not happen. Generally, if you're being attended to by an OB/GYN, or if you're planning a hospital birth, if you get to past your like if maybe a week or so past your due date, they go ahead and induce you then. Sometimes, especially around the holidays, like how my pregnancy would have been. But since I was under midwife care, we were able to just wait and kind of wait it out. Now, I was trying to be proactive. I was doing curb walking, which is a technique that you use in your walk, and one foot is elevated on the curb and one is down on the street sidewalk type of thing. So I was curb walking in general, because they tell you it's good for you and the baby. It helps them get in position, helps get them out. I was doing spinning babies, doing different prenatal yoga on that medicine ball all the time. My husband would wake up and I would be bouncing on it because I was not sleeping. I was really uncomfortable. I was super pregnant. I had edema towards the end of my pregnancy, which was I had a lot of swelling in my extremities, my fingers, my face, my feet mainly. And this just happened at the end. My husband and I always commented on like how pretty much all the way up until the end of the pregnancy, I was able to stay active by choice. That was something I wanted to do because I thought it was gonna help with the birthing process. And then towards the end, it was just like pretty much impossible, and it changed to no more moving, elevate your feet, make sure that your feet are above your heart. My husband, my midwife, everybody was conspiring to keep me laying down. My father-in-law, like everybody would be like, Kayla, you know you're supposed to be sitting down. Kayla, you know you're supposed to be sitting down. And I would just be like, I can't. I was nesting, cleaning things, making sure our son's room was prepared, cooking, like doing freezer meals, how they tell you. It was during the pandemic, so I really didn't want too many people coming over after he was born. And if they were going to have to wear masks and all this, blase. So fast forward to all this, I go to my prenatal appointment for that week with the midwife, and she checks, and it's like she even does a membrane suite, which I didn't really necessarily want because once again, I just wanted him to come when he was ready. But at that point, it was like, okay, sis, is he not ready? We need to figure this out. And that's when she gave me the news that she was recommending that we go ahead and transfer my care to the hospital for an induction. I was, I think, like 42 weeks, 3 days, maybe? Excuse me, 41 weeks, 3 days, because he didn't come till 42 weeks. So I'm devastated, very upset. We're drinking all the rose leaf tea. We did the midwife brew with the castor oil and the different concoctions, everything. Everyone was saying, have sex, which is super uncomfortable to do when you're that pregnant, but we were still trying to figure something out. Everything. We did all the things. I got acupuncture, chiropractic adjustments, affirmations. I was doing hypno babies too, which is like for the mental meditation portion of it, for pain management and just going with the flow of birth plan not going as planned. Excuse me. So doing all these things. At this point, my husband's back home. He was on the road traveling for work. He got home probably about December the 16th. And so it was like, up until then, okay, yeah, he's back. Don't come. Now he's back. Come. And so we made it all the way to January the 7th, which I didn't realize on that day that my water had actually broken. I didn't realize that. If you've had a baby, or even if you hadn't, and you just know about the birthing and the body, sometimes you leak different things during pregnancy, and I thought it was just like trail or like vaginal discharge or just different fluids or whatnot, because I've heard multiple people tell me that happened to them and it wasn't their water breaking. And when your water breaks, you expect it to be like lots of it. It was just small gushes, more so, I guess I would say. And that's why when I would use the restroom, I was just like, okay. I didn't realize until later on that it was my water breaking. But anyway, moving onward. So finally, I accept the fact that I'm going to have to go to the hospital, and I'm not going to get the home birth that I wanted, that I planned for, that we prayed for and paid for, which isn't even an aspect of it, because we are blessed that we do have the health insurance. So paying for the hospital birth wasn't something we were too perturbed about. We knew that we were going to be able to deal with it financially. Some people wouldn't be, which I would understand, because they've already paid for the home birth experience and the different necessities and extras. Telling my doula she was on support with whichever one we wanted to do. If we wanted to do a wild free birth at home, she was willing to support us, and I love her for that, and I respect her for that, and I appreciate her for that. If we wanted to do the hospital birth, she's attended those too. If we wanted to wait and see if our midwife would attend to our home birth, I consulted with my husband. We decided we weren't going to take any risks, because at this point, we'd waited, and so we knew that some type of medical intervention would be needed. And we also knew that hospital birth didn't mean that it was the end of my desire for unmedicated or a vaginal delivery. Then, at that time, that's what we were thinking. That's what we were thinking, that it was still going to be an outcome. So, move forward. We check into the hospital on January the 8th at 7 a.m., babe? We left our house at like 7 we left our house at like 7 something, because I remember in my husband's truck I was having lots of fluids, and he was, did you bring anything? And I'm like, no, I didn't know this was gonna happen. So we're rushing to the hospital thinking like, oh cool, it's gonna happen soon. Like, what? We don't even have to get induced. Joke's on us. So we finally get to the hospital. Doula comes with us, and they're saying that due to the pandemic protocols, only doulas on a certain specific list were going to be able to be admitted. Baby mother-in-law's probably gonna call you because she just called me. Oh, did it skip when she did that? I don't know. Oh, okay. So, anywho, yeah, just keep going. I lost my thought. Oh, so yeah, we're there, and they're saying only doulas on a specific list. When I tell you, my heart is like, dum. Not only am I not getting am I not having the home birth that I desired, that I was nervous about coming to the hospital, black maternal mortality rate, not really having choices, honestly, just no matter what race, just as a woman, not really having too many choices in the hospital setting as far as birthing, if you want to go a less traditional path. Now my doula can't be there. My husband, obviously, you could have one support person, which is my husband. That's my child's father. That's my baby. Like, I know he's gonna have my back. But my doula has been here before. She has her own children. She's dealt with childbirth. She's attended birth. Like, she knows what's up. We don't know what's going on here. This is a whole new element for both of us. We want our doula, who also supported my husband in becoming a father and dealing with the childbirth process as a dad in the home birth setting and now in the hospital setting. So of course I'm like, this doesn't sound right. I'm raising noise. If y'all don't know me, but if you know me, no, I know my rights. And it said that you're allowed to have a certified doula. My doula is certified. She's on the national list. What's going on? So we scan the list. We see a doula that my doula also knows because she works in coalition with other people in her field. We figure out what we need to do to get her added to the list while she's in the waiting room, because she's dedicated. She was going to sit there. She was going to be in the waiting room with us on FaceTime, or she was going to be, if she couldn't be, in the hospital room with us. So me and my husband are in the hospital room. I'm talking to her. She's like, don't worry about it. Just relax. I call my midwife. My midwife's like, she'll look into it too. The head charge nurse, I want to make sure I'm saying it in proper terms, comes in and is telling me what's going on and such, and I tell her, well, I understand, but I looked at your hospital's policy and this is what they were said. They didn't say anything about being on the list. They said they had to be nationally certified. She has her certification. She has her documents. How do we get her on the list? And so then she gives me the info. I give it to my doula. My doula reaches out and it happens. And we were telling everybody who is a doula, who's been turned down or who's considering it, like on social media and their Facebook group, different things like that. They're letting the word be known, like, this is what you do. So if anything, I'm glad that, like, that's a positive that came out of the experience, the exposure. I'm like ride or die for doulas. If you can have one, I do realize that I don't know how to address these different things. Privileged to be able to afford my doula from the beginning. I contacted her when I was like 4 weeks pregnant. Like, pretty much as soon as we knew, like, oh, okay, so we're really doing the home birth? Okay, so we definitely gonna need some support. Honestly, even if we were gonna do the hospital birth, I recommend it. Moving forward, my nurse, wonderful nurse. I don't know if it was like God saying, hey, I know that you're scared. I know you're concerned. I know that all these doctors you've seen, none of them look like you. I know that you need like some extra support, and he sent that in my nurse. So my first nurse was a black woman. She was very friendly. She was very like warm, and she made the experience that much greater for me. I did bring my different things to kind of create the essence. I had my birth affirmation board that I had made with my mom and different relatives, like my aunt, or just different family friends. They made little cards to put onto my board. And at this point, nobody knows we're at the hospital. Just me and my husband and my doula, because I didn't want to tell anybody, because I felt like, I don't know, everyone was already concerned about me doing the home birth route and being so late into the pregnancy. By the time we got there at the hospital, I was 42 weeks. And people just had all these different thoughts and opinions, and I didn't want to inflate them into mine. I guess that's the empath in me. So my husband was kind of just like, let's tell people. And I was like, when the baby gets here, when the baby gets here, we'll let them know. So we're in the hospital room. My husband set up the ambiance for me with like the tea lights and different flower petals and like just really holding it down the way he does. I appreciated that. We were both excited to meet our son. So we're about 4 hours in now. They have the Pitocin going. The staff is really cool. They're stopping by to check on our room. They're calling us the home birth wannabe room or whatever in a good joking manner, because I was bummed and they were picking up on it. I wasn't on the defensive like, oh, y'all are trying to or whatever. I was just like, they just knew that I wasn't able to do water birthing. It was an option at the hospital. I wasn't even able to like walk around because I was hooked up to the Pitocin drip and the wiring, and it just wasn't what I wanted. I was still able to get on like my exercise ball and bounce and do different stretching positions to help with the pain. At first, I was toughing it out. It was cool. When I got there, I was in labor. I didn't even know I was in labor. Like I said, the water had broken. They said I was already like 4 centimeters or something. Didn't realize it. Pushing through. And then they keep raising the Pitocin drip higher. And it was like, wait a minute, what? This hurts. This hurts a lot. And so at that point, I was kind of just like, look, it's not even like I'm going to be able to have any of the pain management tools that I thought I was going to be able to have previously. I'm just going to go ahead and get the epidural because this hurts. So I got the epidural because I don't know, like it wasn't that bad till the Pitocin started. Then it was like, wait, what? Got the epidural. My husband felt the need to narrate it, talking about the needle. It was so, I don't want to be graphic, y'all, but it was a lot. It was a lot. So that happens. I labored for about, I think 5 more hours after that. It was a total of 18 hours. So from 8 a.m. that Friday, from 7 a.m. that Friday when we got there until the next day. So, Saturday around like 2 a.m. They've been putting different probes and, monitoring and tracking the baby. We've had nurse changes, shift changes. Shout out to Nurse Caitlin. This really nice Irish lady that was also on her own journey to becoming a mother. I hope that worked out for her. Everybody comes flooding into the room. The baby's heart rate's dropping. Before, they were monitoring them, and now they're rushing us in for an emergency C-section. My doula had just left, no lie. It was her son's birthday, so that's also why I felt a little bit of guilt, because she had been with us the whole day, like all the way until she had just left maybe 2 hours beforehand. And they're rushing in there. I'm like, I want my mom. I want to call my mom. And then my husband's trying to like get everything together because he has to scrub up and get into the operating room. Yeah, I don't know. It was really surreal. I'm grateful that I was able to be awake, because had I not gotten the epidural, they would have had to put me to sleep. But since I already had, I guess that's the way they explained it, since it was already on the tap, I was able to be awake. I was going for a gentle C-section, and they gave me the option with the drape to be able to see, but I think I was still like in such disbelief that when they said that they couldn't get to the drapes, like I wasn't even sad, because it's like, I don't even necessarily know if I want to see this. I've seen them on TV. I don't have to see my exact. So they're performing the procedure. My husband just makes it in there when they're pulling our son out. I don't see it. I'm not the first one to hold him, because I have all these drugs in my system, and I'm like shaking, and my teeth are chattering, and I still feel the pressure. Like they're not, excuse me, I'm getting over being ill. They're not like, I don't feel it directly like stabbing pain, but I feel the motions of what's going on. So I'm still kind of just And that took, babe, what would you say, like 10 minutes total from them rushing me into the room, delivering our son, and him being born. 3 minutes? Yeah, they did it in 3 minutes because of the situation. So, pulled him out, and then the remaining time was just them re-sealing my body and such. Pushed us over into the recovery room, and the only thing that was like difficult was just getting the drugs out of my system to be able to hold him, babe. Because remember, at first my husband tried to bring him to me, but like I couldn't. I was shaking, and so I was just like, no, not right now, because I wanted to really be able to be fully cognitive. But once I came to, and we were in the recovery room, and I was about to start nursing, like it was really beautiful, holding him and calling my parents so that they could see. Calling my in-laws to let them see the baby, and then at that point, like him trying to latch but not really wanting to eat. And then things got like a little tricky when I finally was able to go to sleep after all this, because there was no sleeping during the birthing. And then I woke up and he wasn't there, and I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? My husband had authorized them to take him to do the checkup, and while they were there, because he was so overdue, they wanted to check and make sure that when he lost the amniotic fluid, when my water broke previously, there weren't any infections. So he actually didn't get to stay with us in the hospital room. He had a fever? Oh, right. He had a fever. My husband knows more of it because I was, like I said, I was pretty out of it. And he wasn't even in there when I woke up. So I was like, where's my husband and where's my son? What? The worst nightmare, waking up in the hospital, right? Checking for your keys and your kidneys. So moving on. Moving on. He stayed in the special care unit, which is a step below the NICU. And he was able to come home with us, 2 days later. I pushed to stay because when you have a C-section, like you're allowed to, your insurance will cover you staying up to 3 days. Versus if I would have had delivered him vaginally, they probably would have pushed for me to go ahead and go home, especially since it was a pandemic and they had limited beds. But once again, I know my rights. I sound like a Karen. I'm a Kayla. That's, call it what you want to call it. That's Kayla. So we ended up all going home together. I had nothing but positive things to say about the nurses. They took really good care of us. I don't know if it's because I'm not the type of patient that is like going to let you not take good care of me, if that makes sense. But I also felt a genuine sincerity that they wanted to help the people that were there, the families that were there. I love them all. Terry, Caitlin, I think another one was Ashley. This is from like when we were in the what do they call it? Maternity unit. Like all of them, the PCAs, the people who helped me get the wheelchairs, who was giving me the food, the nurses in the pediatric ward. Everyone was really kind. We didn't have anything negative to say. The doctors, they all came, like they let me know what was going on. They kept me updated, bedside manner. I actually had the most positive experience possible, which isn't always the case. Whether it's home birth, hospital birth, wherever, whenever you're dealing with something as sensitive and as special as birth, like it's so many emotions, just like there are so many facts, it's so many opinions, it's so many perspectives, it's just so many different things, because you're literally dealing with people from all walks of life, giving life and giving their perspective on what that process should be like. And in my home birth experience, in my hospital experience, it was positive. So said that to say that although I had an unsuccessful home birth or transfer to hospital, I'm still an advocate for home birth if that's the best fit for you, or hospital birth if that's the best fit for you. they both ended up working out for me, I guess you could say. Anywho, that is the end of the second part of my birth story. I may do some touch-ups or like some one-offs on specifics, like how I recovered from a C-section, or how I feel that knowing that this was more than likely going to be my only pregnancy and birth affected my mindset of kind of just like making the best of it. The different things that we did, like my husband and I did belly painting, and we did prenatal photo or pregnancy photo shoots. We did all types of different things. So if you all seem interested in it, I'll give a little bit more in detail on like those specific aspects. All right, bye.